Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. And in a silent, sun-baked training yard surrounded by hardened soldiers, that tremble was all it took for the laughter to start. But no one knew why her hands shook. No one knew what she had survived. No one knew who she truly was. Until the colonel walked out of the command building, saw her stance, and froze. Amira Khan had dreamed of wearing the uniform since she was 9. Not because she wanted medals or glory, she wanted to feel safe again. To protect others the way no one had been able to protect her family years ago. The first day of advanced marksmanship training, she stood in a row of 20 soldiers, most older, broader, louder than her. Her frame was compact, her steps soft, her eyes too calm for a rookie. Some assumed she got into the program through a mistake in the paperwork. Others thought she'd quit within a week. The drill sergeant barked, "Front line, ready weapons." Amira gripped the rifle, and there it was again, the tremor. Barely visible, but not hidden enough. A smirk from the left. A chuckle from the right. One soldier whispered, loud enough for others to hear. Maybe she thought this was knitting class. Laughter erupted. Amira kept her eyes forward, jaw tight, and forced her breathing slow. Not now, not here, please stop shaking. But trauma had its own schedule. When the shooting began, everyone fired in smooth, practiced bursts. Everyone except Amira. She missed the first target completely. The second, too. Her bullets tore dusty streaks in the wall behind the range. Snickers grew louder. The sergeant rolled his eyes. By the time the drill ended, the other soldiers were already packing up, training over, when her assigned partner muttered, "Just quit. Don't embarrass yourself anymore." Amira didn't respond. She simply picked up her brass casings one by one, refusing to let anyone see the sting in her eyes. That evening, she sat alone on the barracks steps, staring at her trembling palms. They always shook when she touched a weapon. She remembered the sound of gunfire years ago, the night her home village was overrun. The night she had lost her younger brother. She had been the one holding him when he slipped away, and the sound of guns had carved itself into her muscles. Now she was trying to use the very thing that once destroyed her world. Still up, Captain Ferris walked toward her with a cup of chai. He was one of the few who hadn't laughed. He wasn't overly friendly, just observant. "Quiet, fair, you don't need to stay in this program," he said gently. "You could transfer to logistics and still serve." Amira looked up, her voice barely a whisper. "I have to finish. I have to prove to myself that I'm not the terrified girl hiding under a collapsed roof anymore." Ferris studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "Then meet me at the range tomorrow at 0500. Before the others show up." At dawn, they trained in silence. He showed her how to anchor her elbow, how to steady the stock against her shoulder, how to let the exhale guide the trigger pull. But the tremors stayed. "I can't stop shaking," she said, frustrated. "I didn't ask you to," Ferris replied. "You're going to shoot with the shaking." "Not against it," she frowned. "How?" "By turning fear into focus. Point your emotions through the rifle, not away from it." Day after day, he coached her. Her accuracy sharpened, her breathing steadied, her past stopped being a chain and slowly became fuel. Still, her hands shook, but her resolve grew solid. 2 weeks later, during the battalion skills assessment, she stood again in front of the same soldiers who had mocked her before. This time, the colonel himself came to observe. A hush settled over the crowd as he stepped onto the platform. Every soldier snapped to attention, then his eyes fell on Amira. Something in his expression shifted, surprise, recognition. It was subtle, almost hidden, but enough to make her wonder. "Marksman, prepare," the sergeant ordered. Amira inhaled, her hands trembled. The laughter began again, soft, cruel murmurs. She ignored them. Fear into focus, aim through the emotion. On the command's first whistle, targets sprang up at various distances, moving, shifting, popping out from cover. Amira's rifle cracked. One hit, another, another. Her shots weren't just accurate, they were impossibly fast. Smooth transitions, steady bursts, flawless control even with trembling fingers. The murmurs died. Silence replaced the mockery. Then came the long-distance target, 700 meters, barely a sliver in the morning haze. A test impossible for most trainees. Amira adjusted her scope, the tremor still buzzing in her palm. She felt her heartbeat, felt the memory of gunfire in her bones, and chose to aim anyway. She exhaled, fired. A full 3 seconds passed. Ping. Direct hit. Every head turned toward her. Even the sergeant looked stunned. But the colonel slowly stepped forward. He didn't say a word. He didn't need to. He lifted his hand and saluted her. The soldiers who had laughed straightened, shocked. A salute from a colonel was no casual gesture. Then, in a voice steady with respect, he said, "You learn to fight with hands that remember pain. That makes you stronger than every man here combined." Amira's throat tightened. She stood taller, and for the first time in years, her hands stopped shaking. That evening, rumors spread through the base. The colonel had recognized her because a year ago, during a covert evacuation near her village, she had carried a wounded child for 3 kilometers through gunfire. Her bravery had been reported, but the name of the young girl had been lost in chaos. Until today, he never told the others the full story. He didn't need to. What mattered was clear. Amira wasn't the trembling rookie anymore. She was a soldier forged from pain, sharpened by perseverance, and honored by those who once doubted her. In the end, the message was simple and powerful. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to aim, breathe, and move forward even when your hands shake. And Amira Khan became the soldier who proved exactly that.